This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. I wanted to do this video so I can show you a lot of the things all at once that the government is doing and has the ability to do. Because part of the problem that I think a lot of us have in waking people up to a lot of what they call conspiracy theory, which is really just government operations that they're trying to pretend they don't really have documented, like Project Bluebeam. These are all things that you could find that are documented. HAARP, documented. Weather manipulation, documented. This isn't stuff that we're just pulling out of thin air. It's documented, which is part of the problem that people have in not realizing is they don't realize that there's patents for these things. The other thing that they have a tough time realizing when we talk about things like Project Bluebeam is connecting the dots with what they can fake in the sky, what they have the ability to do in the sky. So I wanted to talk about a few things that are out there where the government is even admitted to being able to do these things. So we just had the eclipse, right? It was very clear to most of us that it was an artificial eclipse, but people out there don't believe it was an artificial eclipse because all they got was just what they heard from the news, which is there's an eclipse coming. Oh, there's an eclipse coming. There's been other eclipses. They put their glasses on. They act like the sheeple that they are. They look up and they don't think anything of it other than to look up and go ooh and ah. And of course, when the government directs you to look up at the sky, there's usually a simulation happening because the government tells you other than then to never look up at the sky because they don't want you to notice the geoengineering that's happening in the sky on a day in, day out basis. So everybody looked up and nobody realized, wait a minute, we weren't supposed to even get an eclipse in 2024. How did that happen, right? And they say, well, you're just being conspiracy theorists. You don't understand science, right? And an eclipse comes and it goes. So then we need to start showing them things like this. These are the stories that came out right after the eclipse. Europe's Proba 3 mission will create an artificial eclipse to study the sun's corona. So what does this tell us? Well, this tells us that they have the ability to create an artificial eclipse. Now you need to ask yourself, why in the world would they want to do that? And you'll probably say, if you're a sheeple, well, it tells us right there in the article, right? They want to study the sun's corona. There's that word again, right? So they want to create an artificial eclipse to study the sun's corona, and you want to take them at their word for it. So what does this tell us? It tells us that they have the ability, they're admitting that they have the ability to create an artificial eclipse, okay? Check. Let's move on to the next topic. The next topic is that they have the ability to do what? Create an artificial sun. Artificial sun sets record for time at 100 million degrees in latest advance for nuclear fusion. So now we could check that, okay, wait, they're talking to us about how they have the ability to make a fake eclipse. So now it's not so much a conspiracy about making a fake eclipse. Now they're telling you that there's the science, they can do this, they have the ability to do it. So you need to start thinking to yourself, well, why would they do that? Why would the government create one? And that's what we'll get to towards the end of the video. So they have the ability to create an artificial sun. There's already one in creation. We've seen simulations go up in China already of artificial suns. A lot of people believe that an artificial sun was used during this eclipse, that the sun was swapped out with an artificial sun. There's a lot of theories about it, but let's just focus on the fact that they can do these things, right? Then we go to the Northern Lights. I talked about the Northern Lights when they occurred. I said, look, these are likely from HAARP, and automatically all the people out there that try to reject the things that we discuss just called it conspiracy theory. They had to put out articles in the USA Today. They had to immediately come out and say conspiracy theories that are talking about an artificial aurora are fake, right? And I said, look, why is it so hard for you to believe that they can create an artificial aurora? And they said, that's not possible. Why would they ever do that? And then you show them articles like this. This is from November 2023. They openly admitted HAARP experiments could cause artificial aurora over Alaska this weekend. So then we say, okay, wait. So they can create an artificial eclipse. They can create an artificial sun. They can create an artificial aurora northern lights experience in the sky. And you should start saying to yourself, okay, well, why are they doing this? Now, they give you an excuse as to why they're doing this in the name of science, right? Which, of course, we all know now, questioning science is a federal offense in most countries. You're not allowed to question science. But what you can question is the motive. Question the motive. Because, again, if you look at the people in power, nobody should be trusting any of them. Democrats don't trust Republicans. Republicans don't trust Democrats. Good. That's a good start. So your theory on these things shouldn't switch based on political party and power. That's what we need to get people pulled away from. Looking at all of them as corrupt and then looking at the things that they have the ability to do. Do you think that it's just scientists who are doing experiments, creating artificial aurora lights? They have the ability. They're allowed to do this. Can we do this in our backyard without the police showing up? Well, of course not. Of course you can't. Only the government can. So in the name of science, they try to pretend like it's a university that's doing it. Oh, it's a company is deciding to do this. And you say, who's giving the authority? The government's giving the authority. So they have the ability to do these things, right? Then we could move on to what they're even telling us now to prepare for, right? They're saying we can prepare for companies to create artificial eclipses. And after the solar storm, these are the articles that started coming out. If you missed the Northern Lights, solar storms will give you another chance. Increased geomagnetic activity doesn't just bring auroras into view, it can also affect the power grid, satellites, and GPS, right? So they're preparing you for the grid shutdown, but also telling you that we're going to see more and more of these events in the sky, right? So they're telling you to expect it out of the blue, right? But we know already that they could create artificial ones. So that brings me to Dubai. For people out there that don't know, this is what potentially could be done using Project Bluebeam or something else. This is the ability the government has, okay? The government created 2 moons in the sky. If anyone out there doesn't know, now you know. It was a double moon in Dubai. The government did this and didn't tell anybody because they were doing an experiment to see how people would respond, what people would say, right? The UAE sent a probe to Mars, wink, wink, as if that's what it was. Because again, they tell you they can go to all these planets while they play around up in the sky. Oh, they're flying. SpaceX is going to the moon. Are they? It looks like it's kind of arching. It looks like it's going more left to right than straight up. Nobody asks questions, right? In this case, using super realistic sky mapping projection technology, they projected 2 exact replicas of the Mars moons onto the sky to make UAE residents feel as if they were in space. And you could see how they created this in the sky and how realistic it was. And of course, the Ministry of Cabinet Affairs over in the UAE came out and said that the people out there weren't aware that we were going to do this, but we just wanted to surprise everybody and give them a good time, right? Listen.
Look up into the top. Oh, what is that? Can you see it? Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is.
Mars has 2 moons. Most of us is not aware about this information. 2 moons, Venus and Deimos. And so we wanted to give the people of the UAE a unique and very special experience, a very special surprise. What if the time comes where humankind managed to inhabit Mars? Most of us never thought about it. To make this happen, we used the latest technology and invisible screens to project the image of the 2 moons into the night sky. We didn't tell anyone about it.
So looking at the things I just covered, right now you see that Dubai is creating fake moon projections in the sky. We've now heard them admit that HARP themselves have admitted that these experiments that they're running can actually create artificial auroras in the sky. We've heard after the eclipse that they could actually create a fake eclipse, and that's what they're trying to do. The tricky quest to create an artificial solar eclipse. And of course, China creating an artificial sun. This is what's missing. People not saying, why are they creating an artificial sun? Don't we have a sun? Right? Don't we have a sun? I know most people haven't seen the sun in a long time because it hides behind gray skies that are created from geoengineering that no one pays attention to. They don't pay attention to it because they're trained not to pay attention to it. They're only paid to pay attention when they tell you to pay attention. And that's during simulations like the eclipse, like the Northern Lights, like the Dubai moons. And that brings me to this, because you probably say to yourself, why? Why would the government be doing this stuff in the sky? What is it going to do? Affect my health? Maybe it's fun. Maybe it's a good time. Because they're preparing you for a great deception. That is why, while all those things are happening around us, while we're giving the government the ability to make these man-made events in the sky that they could tell you are either real or not real, artificial when they say it's artificial, natural when they say it's natural, the same can be said from the Vatican, who conveniently, after all of that, as you probably saw in my previous videos, has come out and told us that they're now going to tell us what is a supernatural phenomena and what is not. Don't listen to crazy conspiracy theorists. If we tell you that Jesus returns in the sky, it's Jesus. If we tell you that the Antichrist is in the sky, it's the Antichrist. If we tell you that it's Project Bluebeam, we won't tell you that, excuse me. If we tell you it's a UFO invasion in the sky, it's really a UFO invasion. So on one hand, they're telling you that they could create all these things in the sky, things that most people out there go, they can't do that. I've just shown you that they can do that. They've admitted that they can do it. So if you're someone who trusts in the news themselves have told you that they could create these artificial simulations, right? You need to figure out in your own mind, would wicked people do something to deceive many nations? And the answer should clearly be yes. So the Vatican is coming out now as an authority at this time for supernatural phenomena. They have a new blueprint in place. They're going to come out and tell you what is actually real and what actually isn't, just like the news is going to, because they know they need the internet to move forward with the New World Order, because it is the internet of bodies, people connecting to the World Wide Web. That's what we're headed towards. Physically, their bodies are going to have technology inserted into their bodies to connect to the internet of bodies, right? So they want to make sure the internet is on, but at the same time, the thing they're combating is people figuring out that there's huge deceptions going on from the government. So the ability is there. So if you're somebody out there who goes, all those theories that I keep hearing about, fake eclipse, I don't know, why would they do that? Why would they even do it? They can't do it, right? They can't do it. Well, we just proved that they can, right? Then you could do deeper dives into proving that they can. They show us this stuff out in the open, so we can only imagine how much more advanced their technology is. Then they do live simulations like they did with the northern lights that just appeared around the world. That was a live simulation to see how vast they could make this projection in the sky. How many countries could they cover? What is the reaction to this thing? Are people talking about HAARP? Are people talking about Project Bluebeam? And in fact, many people were. So then, after that, they need to come out and tell you if it is actually a phenomenon, because what they plan on doing with this technology is deceiving people with an event in the sky. That is what Project Bluebeam is. To deceive all nations, to bring about a new world order. Now, we don't know if they're going to do a rapture simulation. Some people believe that. Some people believe that it's going to be Jesus himself in the sky, which is really just a projection that some Christians will fall for it. I don't believe, I give people too much credit sometimes. I don't believe people are dumb enough to fall for that. But potentially a fake rapture is something I do believe that people may fall for, which would cause many Christians to be deceived and even turn on their faith if they're not actually raptured away. But this is the blueprint. What you see here is a check after check after check for the government to actually create a manipulated event in the sky. If you need to figure out why, think to yourself, why not? Why wouldn't wicked people in power want total control? If you're a Democrat, wouldn't you think that this would be something that Donald Trump could potentially use to deceive his followers? And you would say, yeah, I could see that, right? And of course, conservatives say, well, yeah, I could see these psychopathic Democrats creating an event in the sky to deceive Christians. Good. Because we can see that if we look at the opposite political party. Now, I'm not associated with any political party because it's not real. It's a simulation that they've created to keep you trapped in a bubble of division amongst civilians. Instead of realizing that the government has this technology and we should stop them from using it, just like we should stop them from using artificial intelligence. Instead, we look at each other and we point fingers. And that's what they want us to do as they continue to roll this stuff out and run simulations in real time on all of us. So the ability is there for them to do it. They've admitted that they have the ability. The people out there need to just get to a point where they say to themselves, you know what? They can do this. Why would they do it? Oh, I see. Right. I think about Rome. I think about other empires. I think about wickedness. Just imagine if I told you that this technology was in the hands of every single serial killer you've ever been told about. What if I told you Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, the Unabomber, all these guys had this technology in their hands? You'd say, get it out of their hands. We can't trust them. Well, exactly. These people in power who smile at you and tell you that they're here because they care about you. Is your discernment that weak that you can't see past the smiling faces of Fauci and Gates and Bezos and Musk? These billionaires are all in on this and a part of this, and they're keeping us divided while they prepare for a major simulation to occur. That's what this tells us. That's what these stories in 2024 tell us. These are all things that are occurring right now, and we're only in May. These are things that just occurred. The eclipse, the aurora lights, the artificial sun test simulation, which has been around for a while, and they've had the ability to do this for a while. But now they're telling you that they can do this, and you need to say to yourself, so it's not a conspiracy that they can do this. And they're even telling you that there's gonna be more solar storms. Why are they telling you there's gonna be more solar storms? Because they're gonna be running more simulations in real time to make sure that when they roll out Project Bluebeam, that it's perfectly executed, that it covers every single area they need to cover, that all of it's working, everything's in place. So that's why you'll see the aurora lights in some places a couple of weeks ago, and a few weeks from now, it'll be in different places, because all of the technology is in place for them to do the simulations in the sky. You know, those towers that have been put in place, right? HARP is all around us, right? But they're not going to turn all of it on at once until they're ready for the actual simulation. So just like if you had a sprinkler system, right? You know, a sprinkler system, if you don't know, you run it in zones. You're going to test out your zone, right? Let me test out the first zone. Let me test out the second zone. And then you look, you're like, okay, zone 1 works, zone 2 works. Oh, there was a glitch in zone 3. Maybe there's a sprinkler head broken. Maybe zone 3 is offline. I don't know. Let me figure it out. But zone 3 didn't work. That's what they're telling you with this. Oh, there's going to be more solar storms, because they're going to run it in different spots to make sure it all works, so that when they run Project Bluebeam out, it's going to be seen everywhere. Everywhere. There's going to be no, oops, but they didn't see it here. They're going to test it and test it and test it until they know that thoroughly they could run this simulation. And then who's going to come out and trick and deceive Christians? The Vatican themselves. The ones who are at the very top of the pyramid, along with those bagel munchers. I hope this video helped in some way. I just wanted to explain it and put something together and try to speak to people out there who think that all of this stuff is a conspiracy theory. It's a fact. The technology is a fact that they have it. You just need to get past the part of trusting in these people and realize if you didn't like the people in power right now, and you knew this technology was out there, and Donald Trump put his name next to it, and you're a Democrat, and you said, Donald Trump's talking about simulating an eclipse. We can't let him have that. That's what you would say. And same with conservatives. But they're not doing that. They're looking at this stuff and just ignoring it, saying to themselves, oh yeah, they're going to test the coronas in the sky. Oh, that's a convenient word. They just did a test with that, huh? They just look at it and go, oh, well, scientists are going to... This technology should not be allowed to exist because it does not benefit us. It is here to deceive us. Nothing more. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you as always, and your families.